and this smell just hit me, and it was so overpowering and it was so intense. Hello and welcome to my living room. I'm so happy to have you. I am gonna be sitting down. Oh, my kitten Lavender is having a ruckus of a time. Can you hand her to me, Mama?
Yeah.
Lavender, the people want to see you.
Go.
Here, can you let go of my shirt? Let go of my... What a babe. What a babe. What a baby.
That's our girl.
What a baby. You got so big. People always want to see you, you know. People always ask, how's Lavender? How's Lavender? Okay, you go keep playing. That's how she's doing. Follow her at Lavender Burke on Instagram. And me while you're at it, at Molly Burke Official. This is going to be a typical Molly sits down and rambles and whatever comes out happens to come out kind of video, because I didn't pre-plan what I was gonna say. I just had this idea pop into my mind of something that I wanted to sit down and talk about, and I sat down, hit record, and now I'm here talking about it. So that's what this is about. Welcome to my channel if you're new. Hit subscribe and that notification bell if you haven't already to get to see more of my face, and more importantly my cat and my guide dog's faces, because their faces are way more cute than mine. It's okay, I get it. They're fluffy. I can't beat fluff. I just can't. So, you see it in the title. I'm going to be talking about adjusting to heightened senses post vision loss. Now, there is a big misconception that blind people are like superheroes and we have heightened senses, and I think unanimously across the board we would all say no. That is incorrect. That is not true, and we would like to squash that misconception, because people love to just be like, wow, you're like a daredevil, and we're all like, no, we're not like Daredevil whatsoever. That's a fictional character in a movie, and we're real life human beings. So I want to put that caveat up front. As blind people, we don't have some like extra crazy superpower special ability that you as an able-bodied person with all of your senses couldn't also do. You just don't tap into your ability. But that said, I do think some of it is a little more intense than that. I'm split in the middle, okay? That's what I'm here to say. I'm split down the middle. I also, like always, whenever I sit down and talk about blindness, I like to remind you all that I am Molly and I am blind, but I am not all blind people. I am not all experiences of blindness. I am simply here representing myself, my story, my experience, sharing my thoughts, my perspective on this topic, and I really do encourage you to check out other blind influencers. I'm going to link a whole bunch down below that I love following, some of whom I'm really good friends with, some of whom I just am fans of. So you guys can check out more blind creators here on YouTube, but also over on TikTok, at Molly Burke Official, over on Instagram and whatnot, because I think it's important to see all the perspectives and all the voices, and yeah, so definitely go check those out if you are interested in content around blindness outside of just my content. So, as a lot of you know, I lost the majority of my vision when I was 14 years old. I'm currently 26. Yes, I still look at times like I could be 14, but I am 26. So prior to losing the majority of my vision, they knew that I was going to one day go blind. I have a disease called Retinitis Pigmentosa. It's a progressive disease that causes vision loss over time as your retina deteriorates. So I was diagnosed when I was 4 years old, and at that time I started getting all of the training that I would need to be a blind person, function, live as a blind woman. I've been legally blind from birth, so upon my diagnosis, I was already past the point of being legally blind. I started orientation or O&M training, which is learning how to navigate the world without sight physically. So that includes, using a guide dog is O&M, using a cane is O&M. You all start with a cane, then you graduate to the guide dog if you want one. Not all blind people do. And using your ears to navigate, all of that kind of thing. So you're using tactile markers, you're using auditory signals. And so I started O&M when I was in grade 2. I was 7, 8 years old. And I did basic O&M training to begin with, of course, learning how to use a white cane to find stairs, to get around obstacles, that kind of thing. But as I got older, I had an incredible O&M teacher named Marilyn Turner. Shout out to you, Marilyn. You're the real OG. What a queen. What a queen. And she actually taught O&M to students at college. Like, she was the instructor that taught future O&M teachers how to teach O&M. So she was really, truly incredibly talented. I've had a number of O&M instructors throughout my life, but she was truly very, very special and got me the bulk of the skill that I needed to, number one, get my guide dog, but number two, use my ears to the full extent of the ability that I had. So I was trained in passive echolocation by Marilyn, which is listening to the sound waves that naturally occur bouncing off of objects. Later, I've been trained slightly in active echolocation, but I'd like to do more training in that. So I was trained to use passive echolocation prior to most of my vision loss. And then when I did go blind at 14, the thing that I truly noticed heightened almost overnight, and I hate saying that because I do feel like it leans into like the stereotype a little bit, but that's why I want to talk about it, because I do feel like part of our heightened senses, for those who also can't see, I'm putting heightened senses in air quotes, part of heightened senses is simply that we rely on it more. We're missing a sense. So of course, we are putting more energy, more brain power, more effort into our other 4 remaining senses. And so we're just tapping into it in a way that sighted people fully have the ability to do. They're just distracted by sight. Because when you have all 5 senses, sight is the sense of the 5 that you rely on the most. So we're missing the sense that you are spending the most time and the most energy on. So all of our other senses have way more space to play around with and to focus on. But the other part of heightened senses, I will say, like, I do feel like just happened. Like, it just came on in a way that I wasn't expecting. I would say my ears and my fingers, my sense of touch, are things that I'm just either trained for through Braille training and through the echolocation training I received, and from relying on it more. So it's a combination of the training I've received and just like the actual like need I have to focus on them to function and get by as a blind person in a sighted world. Where I feel like my senses just clicked in and heightened immediately after vision loss is my taste buds and my smell. Those senses I was never trained to hone in on. I don't really need to rely on my sense of smell or taste to get by in life. Touch and hearing are way more important for my safety and just for my ability in general, ease of life. But my taste and my smell really don't add that much value to me as a blind person navigating and getting around and doing daily tasks. And I don't know, comment below if you're also blind, especially if you went blind. Did this happen to you? Like, did you feel like this occurred for your smell and taste? I'd be very curious, because a lot of us blind folk, like when I'm with my blind friends and we talk about heightened senses, we mainly focus on ears and fingers. So I'd be curious to hear if other blind people feel like their touch or their taste and smell got heightened. And also just sound off in the comments below if you're blind on this debate of like heightened because we rely on it more versus heightened because it's heightened. Anyways, I remember when I lost my vision, my taste buds like really went through a dramatic change. I stopped liking really spicy food, so I started eating more mild flavors. I couldn't handle really strong tastes like onion, garlic, a lot of heavy spices. I just couldn't tolerate it. It was overwhelming to my taste buds. And it's something that now I've adapted to, I've adjusted to, and I can eat those foods again. But it was a process. It was like I went from loving foods like that to just being like, no, I can't stand it. It's overwhelming. It's too much. It's overpowering. And then slowly through the years, I've been able to readapt and take those back in. But when I first lost that bulk of my vision at 14, it was just like, boom, it all hit me so strong. And it was the same with smell. Everything, it just, honestly, it did just get heightened. Like it just was so intensely powerful and in focus and so clear in a way that fragrance had never been before. I remember being in Paris that summer. I got a dream granted through Sunshine Dreams for Kids Foundation. I'll link them below. It's kind of like Make-A-Wish. So I got a dream granted, and my dream that year was to go to Paris, France on a shopping spree. Nobody's surprised. Of course, that was Molly's dream. And I remember being there, and there was one of my friends at the time, her sister and her mom were all also happened to be on a girls' trip in Paris. And we had like a few days that overlapped. So on the tail end of their trip was the beginning of our trip, and we all met up for lunch. And the 5 of us, my mom and the 3 of them, were sitting in this restaurant, and this smell just hit me, and it was so overpowering and it was so intense. And I was like, do you guys smell that? Do you remember that smell?
Yes, oh, very vividly.
I was like distraught. Like I was like, we need to leave, we need to go, I can't stay here, it's so intense. And all of them were like, I mean, I like vaguely smell something, but like it's nothing intense. And I was like, I can't stand it. It's so intense. Like it's really uncomfortable. We need to go. We need to sit outside. And we asked the waiter, like, is there a smell? And he was like, oh, they burnt cheese in the kitchen. And so I was smelling a strong French cheese that had been burnt. And to everybody else, it was like a very mild smell. And to me, it was overwhelming, overpowering, so intense, and we ended up leaving the restaurant and sitting in their outdoor patio instead because that's how uncomfortable the smell was to me. And I remember being like, wow, like that's so weird that nobody else noticed how intense the smell was. And over time, over the next few years, as I was adapting to my new vision loss, I continued to notice that I would smell things. I would be like, oh, pizza. And my friends would be like, I don't smell pizza. And then we'd keep walking and like 2 blocks down, they'd be like, oh, I smell pizza. And we'd turn the corner and there'd be a pizza shop. But I smelt it like 2 blocks earlier than they did. And yeah, it was weird. So there's certain senses that were kind of difficult to adjust to. The touch and the hearing, like I said, I had been trained to hone in on those things. And I'd been slowly adapting to that. And they're so useful in everyday life that it was just such a benefit to the point that it didn't bother me. But my smell and my taste, I never tried to make those, I never tried to tap into them. It just hit me, it just happened unintentionally. And I definitely took a while to adjust to those. And at this point, I don't know if the way that things taste to me or the way that things smell to me is more intense than it is to sighted people. I assume it probably still is, but to me, it's my new normal. It's so normal now. It's been 12 years like this that I don't really think about it anymore. It doesn't overpower me anymore. It doesn't overwhelm me anymore. But at first it did, and it was really strange. And hearing's a funny one because I will say the same way sighted people will sit on a park bench and people watch, I'll sit on a park bench and like accidentally eavesdrop. And I'm telling you, there's some things I hear that I don't want to hear. I'm not trying to listen, but my ears, like they just pick it up. They just hear it. My parents used to always have to be so careful. Do you remember this in high school?
Yes, yes.
When I lived with my parents, they would have to be so careful about what they said and how loud they said it because they'd be in the kitchen and I'd be upstairs in my bedroom and they'd be talking at a very normal volume about something. And I'd be like, I can hear you. I hear what you're saying. And they'd be like,
for sure.
Overall, the reality is we don't have heightened senses to the level that you can't achieve yourself. You could also take echolocation training. You know, you could also hone in on your sense of touch. You just don't need to. As able-bodied people, you don't have the need. But nature is incredible. Like our bodies, they just adapt. We are designed to adapt to our circumstances. And I get a lot of comments on social media say things like, oh, I don't think I could do it if I went blind. I don't think I could cope. I don't think I could deal with it. And what I'll say is you never know what you're capable of until you're forced to deal with it. And in life, we're handed many circumstances and situations that prior to living it, we wouldn't have thought we could live it. But once you're given no choice but to survive, you figure out how to survive. And I really do feel like at first going blind was of course overwhelming. I also thought I couldn't handle it. I dealt with depression. I learned to adapt and I learned to cope. And now 12 years later, like this is just my normal. This is just my everyday. I don't think of the way that I do my makeup without a mirror being any different than a girl sitting down in front of a mirror and doing her makeup. It's not more difficult. It's nothing. It's just like, oh, this is how I sit down and do my makeup. And it's the same with my senses. I don't think of the fact that I can read Braille with my fingers or find the smallest, this one annoys my mom, I will find the smallest flaw that is invisible to the human eye with my fingers in anything. And she's like, I can't even see it. I'm like, it's a little nick. It's right there, it's a little nick. But I don't think of that as being any different. I think of that as just being like the way that I live, the way that I cope, the way that I get through. And the universe has designed it in such that we as humans are so resilient. It's truly incredible. So that's really all I have to say on this situation. Do we have heightened senses? Yes and no. It's a bit of both in my opinion. Mostly not. We're not superheroes. I want to squash that idea right there. But also, yes, I think there are ways in which you experience the world through your senses in a heightened way. That is accurate. So that's what I have to say on the situation. I don't know. Hope you found another Molly rants about being blind interesting. And if you want more Molly, you can click up here for this video or over here for this one. Again, don't forget to hit subscribe and the notification bell, and I'll see you next time. Bye.